This summer, Prime Video takes you back before Legally Blonde, before law school, and into the world of Elle Woods in high school. Set in 1995, this Gemini vegetarian knows exactly who she is until her family moves from Bel Air to Seattle. Packed with iconic fashion, 90s nostalgia, and a throwback soundtrack, Elle proves one thing. Law school was hard. High school was harder. From the world of Legally Blonde, watch Elle, a new original series only on Prime Video July 1st.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
You're sitting there waiting for your avoidant ex to reach out, and every day that goes by without a text or a call feels like proof that they're moving on. Because if they missed you, if they cared, if they wanted you back, wouldn't they just contact you? Well, it's not that cut and dry. What if you've been looking at this completely backwards? What if your avoidant ex is sitting there wondering why you haven't reached out? What if they're waiting for a sign from you? Now, before you get too excited, I'm not saying every avoidant ex is secretly hoping you'll contact them. But there are certain things avoidants do when they want communication, but they're too uncomfortable or too scared or too vulnerable to be the one who initiates it. And if you don't recognize these signs, you might assume that they're not interested when the reality is actually more complicated. So in this video, I'm going to share 5 signs that your avoidant ex may be waiting for you to reach out. If you're new here, hi, my name is Lucia. I'm a dating and relationship expert specializing in helping you get your ex back or to get over your ex. And if you're not new, you are part of my no contact army, and welcome back. Always wonderful to have you. Okay, so sign number 1 that your avoidant ex is waiting for you to reach out is that they keep themselves in your orbit. One of the biggest clues is that they don't completely disappear. So they may watch your stories, stay in shared friend groups, or remain in areas where there's a good chance that they'll see you. And if you watched my video about my client who got his fearful avoidant ex back after 9 months, you'll recall that he works at the beach and she would show up and sometimes just stare at him and sometimes wave. And now they're back together and they are still together after almost 6 months. So it's working out. Now, just because they're in your orbit, that doesn't necessarily mean they want you back. And in fact, with my client, she orbited for a while and then she finally reached out.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
Because she hadn't fully disconnected. Because someone who's truly detached doesn't need to keep checking. They're not looking for updates. They're not trying to see what you're doing. They're not quietly close while acting distant. And avoidants do this because direct contact feels too exposing. So watching from a distance feels safer than sending a text. It allows them to feel connected without having to risk rejection, vulnerability, or an emotional conversation. So if your avoidant ex hasn't reached out, but they still somehow are present in your world, don't ignore that because it may be their indirect way of keeping the door cracked. And if you'd like help in figuring that out, I do offer one-on-one coaching, and you can go to theartoflove.net/coaching and we will send you the rates. They are not on the website. And the direct link to that is underneath every video and podcast. Okay, sign number 2 is that they become unusually responsive when you reach out. So they may not initiate, but when you do, they reply faster than expected. They seem warm. They answer your questions. They may even ask questions back. The conversation doesn't feel dead. It feels like they were almost waiting for the opening, because an avoidant who doesn't want contact is usually going to give you very little to work with. Short replies, long delays, no curiosity, no emotional energy. But an avoidant who was waiting for you to reach out is going to respond with relief. They didn't have to take the risk, you did. And now that the door is open, they feel safer engaging. This is why you have to pay attention not only to whether they initiate, but also to how they respond when you do. Because sometimes the interest is not in the first move, sometimes the interest is in the response. And by the way, I do have an app. If you are in no contact, I will help you to stay in no contact while you're waiting to see what your avoidant is going to do. My app Silencio is available in both the App Store and in Google Play. And the link to that, of course, is underneath every single video and podcast. And if you still like to read, you can check out my book, No Contact Secrets. And the link to that is also underneath every video and podcast. All right, sign number 3. They drop little hints about their life or availability. So as I'm sure you know, avoidants aren't always direct. They may not say, I miss you, or I want to see you, or I wish you'd call me, but instead they mention things that give you an opening. They tell you they're not doing much this weekend. They mention a place the two of you used to go. They casually share details that seem unnecessary. And on the surface, that might look random, but it's usually not random. It's an invitation without the vulnerability of an invitation. They're putting something out there to see if you'll pick it up. This is very common with avoidance because they want connection, but they don't want to feel like they're chasing. They don't want to feel rejected or emotionally exposed. So instead of saying what they want directly, they create an opening and they wait to see what you're going to do with it. Step number 4, sign number 4, they use low-risk contact. So this is when your avoidant reaches out, but not in an emotionally obvious way. So they'll send a meme, react to a story, ask a practical question, comment on something insignificant. They send something that gives them plausible deniability. So in other words, if you respond warmly, they can continue the conversation. But if you don't, or if you seem cold, then they can tell themselves, well, it wasn't a big deal. I was just asking a question. I was just saying something funny. This is why low-risk contact is so important to understand. Avoidants usually test the emotional temperature before they step any closer. They want to know if it's safe, if you're receptive, if they can interact without.
This episode is brought to you by Redfin. You're listening to a podcast, which means you're probably multitasking. Maybe even scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving homes without expecting to get them. But Redfin isn't just built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. With agents who close twice as many deals, when you find the one, you've got a real shot at getting it. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
Getting pulled into a heavy emotional conversation. So with an avoidant, casual is usually the safest way they know how to connect. And then finally, sign number 5, that your avoidant X wants you to reach out. They stay emotionally connected, but avoid emotional conversations. And this is where people get confused. So your avoidant X may still seem emotionally attached. They remember little things. They bring up shared emotions. They show signs of nostalgia. They seem affected by you. But the moment the conversation becomes too direct, too emotional, or too relationship focused, they pull back. And that contradiction is what drives people crazy, because part of them seems connected, but then another part of them avoids the very conversation that would clarify everything. But that's usually the avoidant pattern. They can miss you, and still avoid you. They can care and still protect themselves. They can want contact and still be afraid of what that contact might lead to. So if your avoidant X seems emotionally connected, but avoids emotional vulnerability, they may not be indifferent. They might be overwhelmed or waiting for a safer way back in. Now, here's the important thing. Just because your avoidant X may be waiting for you to reach out, it doesn't mean you should immediately chase them. You still have to look at the bigger picture. Are they receptive? Are they respectful? Are they consistent? Do they invest once contact begins? Because wanting contact is not the same as being ready to get back together. An avoidant can miss you and still not be ready to do the work. They can want reassurance and still avoid commitment. They can enjoy hearing from you and still keep one foot out the door. So don't use this video or podcast as an excuse to panic text your ex. Use it to read the situation more accurately. If they're showing several of these signs, it may mean the silence isn't as simple as you thought. They may not be completely gone. They may not be indifferent. They may be waiting for some sign that it's safe to reconnect. Okay, so now I want to hear from you. Comment below if you have any questions or comments about anything I've said. And if you want help understanding what your avoidant X is really doing, make sure to subscribe, because I talk a lot about no contact, avoidance, and what actually brings an X back. And in the meantime, remember, love inspires, empowers, uplifts, and enlightens.